So, with tourism, you need to know why tourism has grown rapidly, and you need to know the social, economic, and political reasons. So, let's start off with social. Social is to do with increased leisure time, anything to do with the internet, and package holidays. So, leisure time. Leisure time increased as we got more paid holidays. We're now working a shorter working week than we ever did before. It's now 40 hours a week. People get an early retirement, or when they retire with a pension, they can afford to go on holiday. This is known as the grey pound. Now, more people are living longer, so there's a lot of old people who are going on lots of holidays. So this is important, and this is another reason for the growth of tourism. The next one is improvements in ICT. You can research and book your holiday online, so tour operators have developed systems so you don't even have to step foot in a travel agent. Package holidays, that really started in the 1950s and took off in the 1960s, and this made it much easier for people to go on holiday, because if you were going abroad, to have somebody sort out your flights, your transfers and your hotel accommodation where you don't speak the language makes life a lot easier. And we've also now got changing fashions. So if you think about it, the new changing fashion in tourism is an all-inclusive resort where you get all your food and all your drink and you pay it all up front, so you know exactly what your holiday is going to cost. So the next lot of effects are your economic factors. This is to do with wealth, currency exchange rates and transport. So with wealth, we've got more disposable income than ever before. Disposable income is the money left after paying bills. The average wage in 2008 was £23,000, so that's lots of money left over after you've paid your bills for a holiday. People are also having less children. The 1970s it was 2.4 kids. Today it's 1.8 kids. So you've got more money to spend on luxury items, like a holiday. And 2008, of mothers, 68% had actually gone back to work. So this means you've got two incomes coming in, so you've got a lot more disposable income, so you've got money to go on holiday. The next one is currency rates, which is part of economic factors. So if you have got a country where their currency is weaker against our pound, it means more people from Britain will actually go and visit them. So in 2008, everything seems to be 2008. In 2008, the US dollar was $2 for £1. So lots of people from the UK went to the USA for their holiday. And this actually rose by 20% that year. The last one for economic is transport developments. So bigger planes have brought down the cost of actually flying abroad, and this started with your budget airlines took off at that point, so like Ryanair. So more people travel because Ryanair go to all sorts of different places, and because the flights are cheap, more people will go abroad, so tourism increases. You've also got the Channel Tunnel. Now the Channel Tunnel makes it easier to drive or catch that train all the way to France. So that's another reason for increases in tourism. The last factor is your political. Now, politics is anything to do with visas, anything to do with EU border crossing. So 30 years ago, for example, it was really hard to travel to China. Getting a visa was really difficult. But today, it's much easier to get a visa, and they've got package holidays going to China to see the Great Wall of China. EU countries have made it's much easier for us to actually drive all across Europe, because you don't have to stop at every single border if you're a member of an EU country. And also the euro, which is the one currency, has made it much easier to travel around Europe. The next section is tourist destinations, and offer a variety of physical and human attractions. You will need to identify them and say why it attracts the tourists. So when you get a question, you will need to make sure that you are highlighting to the examiner, this is a physical reason, this is a human reason. So for example, if you have got a beach scene which is in front of you, the physical reasons would be there's a sandy beach, but you've got to say what the tourists use it for. So there's a sandy beach for sunbathing, shallow sea for safe swimming for the kids, clear skies and it's a sunny day for sunbathing, rocky outcrops for, how people like to climb it and then jump off into the sea. which I can't understand at all, but there we go. Beautiful scenery, because then you can go for a walk and take photos. And then the human type of factors are hotels to stay in, cafes to eat in, sun lounges to sunbathe on, little boats to go and have a boat ride. So you need to make sure that this is the physical reason, and this is the reason why the people are travelling there. Case study is like a really big one. This one is when it talks about resorts development over time, and this is the one where you have to use the Butler model and Blackpool. You have to know what happens in each stage. So you've got the stages of EID, so EID, CS, Doctor, DR. So exploration, involvement, development, consolidation, stagnation, decline, and rejuvenation. Now I'm going to talk you through each of the stages and something about Blackpool for each of those stages. So the first one, stage 1, exploration. A small number of tourists visit, the area is very unspoilt. In Blackpool, you would just get rich people on horseback visiting the Blackpool to maybe swim in the sea and have a little walk on the beach, and that was about it. The second stage is involvement. Visitor numbers start to increase. The local people start to provide services because they can say, oh, we can make some money out of this. So hotels, transport improves, other facilities like cafes, pubs. So what did Blackpool do? Blackpool built a road in 1781. This allowed mill workers from Manchester to come. It used to take them a day to get there and a day to get back, but at least they could have like a short weekend there. They built hotels, for example. Lane's End Hotel was built, and also holiday cottages were built in 1820. They built a railway in 1840, so thousands of day trippers from the big northern towns like Manchester could actually come for a day trip. Stage 3 is development. Numbers are still rising, okay, and they start to build facilities for the tourists. So in Blackpool, 1860, there wasn't much entertainment, but then 1863, the North Pier was built. 1870, the Central Pier was built, and there was like dancing, and you had the promenade. So it was, starting to build up with little facilities because the locals knew they could make a profit out of the tourists. The next stage is stage 4, consolidation. This is the one that you did for your coursework, and you did it about Bakewell. So what have we got? We've got visitor numbers have increased to give you peak numbers. The transport has been improved to allow people to get there easily. And the locals, most of the jobs rely on tourism directly or indirectly. You also get lots of new attractions being built. So what did Blackpool do? We've got 1872, you had 850,000 visitors now by this time. It's recognised as a holiday destination. The Pleasure Gardens, which had a park, a racecourse, a theatre, loads of other entertainment things, was opened in 1890. And this was to accommodate the 250,000 tourists that were coming a year. 1894, the Blackpool Tower was built and its ballroom, so if you think about Strictly Come Dancing, and also the South Pier. 1900, the railway stations, 2 railway stations, were rebuilt to accommodate increasing numbers of people. Right, stage 5 is stagnation. This is when facilities and services, they get run down, okay? Numbers of visitors start to drop because the area is viewed as unattractive and boring compared to other places. What we found in Blackpool, it was really by the time you rolled round to the 1960s, 1970s, because you had package holidays abroad, people started going abroad rather than going for a week to Blackpool. They opened up the M55, which connected Blackpool to the M6, and then you had lots of young people come in for the weekend to get drunk, and this put families off. So this is the reason for that kind of stagnation. The next stage, stage 6, is decline, so things got even worse. You have a massive drop in numbers. Locals start to lose jobs in the tourist industry, and hotel occupancy drops. You have a real problem with the image of the resort. It's not seen as a very nice place to go to. 1987, visitor numbers had dropped from 16 million down to 10.5 million. The occupancy in hotels had gone down to, my favourite figure, 22%. So Blackpool was seen as kind of like, it wasn't really a place for families anymore. It was seen as a place for people to go and get drunk on the weekend, and hen nights and stag nights. That was kind of what it was seen to be. Stage 7, rejuvenation. The resort spends money to improve facilities, and it tries to rebrand itself by trying to attract the visitors back. So they have like big television advertising campaigns. Now, what did Blackpool do? 2003, Blackpool spent 2.2 billion with a B on building a brand new retail park, casino, conference centre, included offices, and a new airport. 5,700 new homes were built, and also a new arts centre was built later on. That wasn't part of that project, but a different one. 2004, visitor numbers have gone back up to 11 million. 2008, the Bond Hotel was completely knocked down and rebuilt at a cost of 14 million. 2009, the Coastal Defence Scheme cost 80 million to protect the coastline. So you can see that Blackpool is spending money on trying to improve itself to attract the visitors back and to totally rebrand itself.
Tourism and the UK economy. Why is tourism so important to the UK economy? The UK economy earns over 80 billion every year from leisure and tourism. Around 27.7 million visitors from abroad spend over 13 billion of this sum. September 2004 to December 2005, 100 new hotels opened up in the UK, creating more jobs, more income. This also creates the multiplier effect, as many small businesses benefit from supplying hotel chains. We've also got lots and lots of visitor attractions. For example, the London Eye is the most visited paying attraction in the UK. It's in London, with 3.7 million visitors every year. Now, you also need to know what can damage the tourism industry. Well, on the 7th of July 2005, the London bombing of London Transport, a bus and the Underground, killed 52 people. This damaged the UK's image abroad, and for UK visitors there was a huge amount of negative press about how unsafe London was to visit. As a result, there was a 12% drop in visitors to the London Eye the following year. During the summer holidays, the domestic market to London also decreased. The Science Museum in London was down by 7%, but other attractions outside of London actually benefited. For example, Portsmouth Docks, where Nelson's ship is there for visitors to visit, had a 22% increase in visitor numbers. The cost of the loss of income was about £300 million, according to the BBC. Okay, let's go back to Blackpool, shall we? You'll be asked by the examiner to either do a UK coastal resort or national park. Now, we've covered the national park before, so here's if you actually decide to study a coastal resort, you have to give reasons for its growth. Blackpool has grown because of economic reasons. Improved transport. 1846, the railway was built so more people could travel to the coast. This was made bigger in 1900 when 2 railway stations were built. 1975, the M55 opened to link the M6 so people from Birmingham, for example, can travel to Blackpool easily. Attractions were also built for tourists. The Blackpool Tower was built in 1894, as well as the Grand Theatre. 1912, Blackpool illuminations were switched on, this extended the tourist season. Blackpool has gone through a period of decline, but now it's on the rise again because it's been rejuvenated. For a coastal resort or a national park studied, how effective are the strategies to cope with large numbers of tourists? Well, they've got vandalism and drunkenness, so what they did to combat that was to increase police patrols on weekends and bank holidays when they've got a lot of young people going to Blackpool for like 1 or 2 nights. The bouncers and bar staffs have to monitor the drinks and kick people out who are too drunk. Both of these measures reduced antisocial behaviour, and the council has limited bars' opening hours and it stopped new bars clustering together. With litter, more bins and cleaners, full-time patrols to stop the rats and the seagulls. That's kind of half affected because in town after a Saturday night the litter is still bad. But litter on the beach is actually picked up using a machine every night, so that's very effective. The problem of noise, police do regular patrols, and you've got notices in residential areas about being quiet, otherwise you'll get fined. No bars are opened in residential areas. It's not very effective. It is still noisy on bank holidays and the weekend, but it is better than it was. The problem of traffic jams. In 1975 the M55 was built. This solved the traffic jam back then, but today the amount of traffic coming in is still horrendous. Even with your traffic lights and roundabouts, it causes lots of problems for locals with congestion, getting to work on time, getting deliveries. A way to solve this is that they've actually put a park and ride system 2012, and it's called Blackpool Tramway. You can park on the outskirts of Blackpool, and for £5 you can catch the tram into Blackpool, and it's £5 for the whole family. So this has helped a bit, but you've still got people going in to Blackpool by car. They've also built new parking with the £2.2 billion redevelopment. A massive car park was built there as well. Right, last bit. How has the area planned to ensure the continuing success of tourism industry in that area? So what has Blackpool done to ensure the continuing success of tourism? Well, we know that Blackpool went through a decline in the 1970s due to competition from package holidays to Spain. The cost of going abroad was cheaper, so Blackpool went into a big decline. So what did they do first of all? Huge shopping centre, car parks, more housing, luxury flats. This was called the Blackpool Master Plan. Today, Blackpool is promoting itself as a shopping and conference centre, as an ideal short break destination. It is popular with day trippers. In 2008, a new department store, Debenhams, opened as part of the new development on Hounds Hill. 2010, Blackpool Council purchased the famous Winter Gardens and embarked on refurbishment projects. So all of this is going that Blackpool is trying to, one, extend its season so it doesn't get seasonal unemployment in the winter by having conferences and the Blackpool Illumination, but also it's trying to improve its image and compete with other tourist towns.
To our national park of Snowdonia. Now, national parks were set up in 1949 to conserve areas of outstanding national beauty. So you've got the mountains and you've got coastal sites. So Snowdonia is very much it's the mountain site, isn't it? And the town which is the honeypot town there is Betsy Coed. Now, Snowdonia as a whole has 8 million visitors a year, which gives 5,000 jobs for locals. So this is an economic effect. 180 million is made from tourism, so this means that this can be spent on local facilities, improving road networks, so that's great for the locals as well as the tourists. 51% people come for walking, 12% come for historic sites like Conway Castle, which is actually ranked 3rd on TripAdvisor. Right, economic negative things. Wages are actually low, but house prices are really high because of tourists buying second holiday homes. So it means that young people can't afford a home near to their parents, so it's actually like splitting families up, which is not good. The social things, okay? The social positive effects are, for example, you've got Barmouth Beach, which is a blue flag beach, and the council spend a lot of money making sure that it's nice and they're making sure that there's nothing bad going into the water. So it maintains its blue flag attraction. Now, this attracts tourists, but also it's great for the locals because they've got a beautiful beach to actually use. The other thing about the social effects is if you've got attractions for tourists, the locals can use them. So whether it be kind of like they improve footpaths and everything, whether it be you've got extra pubs and cafes, so you've got a choice, where you go out to eat. So these things can be of benefit. The bad things to do with the social effects are it's more profitable for businesses that are in the towns to be having some kind of tourist slant. So what they were finding was that local services that were needed, like dentists, doctors' surgeries, supermarkets, those type of things, were being shut in favour of tourist type things like gift shops, cafes, because those were the things that were making the profit. So the national park actually started being very, very strict about change of use of a building to actually stop this, so local services wouldn't be going. But this is a negative effect, and it has happened in the past. What else have we got? We need environmental effects, don't we? So some positive environmental effects are that footpaths are repaired, okay, that they've got very strict planning guidance, so it means that if you build anything, it has to be built with local stone, like, if you think about your Bakewell one in the Peak District. They do a lot of tree screening, so they plant trees around a new development, so you don't get that eyesore, so it doesn't make the environment look horrible. The bad things about the environment are tourists dropping litter. For example, in Betsy Coed, volunteers filled up a skip in 4 hours. You've also got footpath erosion, because we've already said that 51% come from walking, and they're actually eroding the footpath, and this costs £100 per metre to mend it. So it's destroying the plants, and then the rain washes the soil off, and it makes it very rocky, so it's not very pleasant for anybody to walk on it, locals included. We need to think about some of the solutions, okay? So we've got where we had local shops being turned into gift shops, the Snowdonia National Park now makes it very difficult to have a change of use on a shop, so we're not losing any more local services. With the environment ones, people were leaving gates open. It's also more of an economic one because it affects farmers, and the sheep were escaping, then the farmer would have to spend time putting his sheep back into a field, and some of the sheep would get killed. So to solve that, you've got spring back gates. Too much traffic coming in to certain areas, making traffic jams for the locals. Well, they've put in park and ride schemes. For example, the Snowdon Sherpa bus scheme. Okay, that's outside the town, and they're actually bussed in, and they're bussed up to the top of Snowdon as well. Not enough parking spaces, which is they built a bigger car park in Betsy Coed. Littering, we talked about the fact that the volunteers pick up litter in Betsy Coed and they filled a skip in 4 hours. They do spend money on mending paths. They advertise public transport to reduce the amount of cars coming to Snowdonia, because you've got 92% of people come by car. Okay. So the Snowdon Mountain Railway is advertised. You've got bike hire places all over the place, and that is to try and reduce the trip.
Right, so mass tourism, we're going to do Jamaica. Mass tourism is tourism on a large scale to one country or region. It's linked to the development and consolidation phase of the Butler model. The first thing that you need to know is why people visit Jamaica. Well, it's a tropical island in the Caribbean. It has beautiful beaches and a tropical climate, so you can get temperatures of 25 to 30 degrees. So it's great for sunbathing, snorkeling, all those type of things. You have got a lot of wonderful hotels that are built, for example, in Montego Bay and Negril, and these ones are massive hotels, your all-inclusive ones, so you've got plenty of things there, and then you've got lots and lots of things to do. So what can you do then? Well, you can go snorkeling and diving around Montego Bay. Negril has got the Negril Marine Park Nature Reserve, and that's been established to help preserve sea life, so tourists, snorkelers and divers can actually see that, and it's all very much controlled. You have got the Dun River Falls, which are the waterfalls in Jamaica, and lots of people go there because it's a honeypot site. You have got things that you can visit, for example, the plantation houses, which were a lot of them have been turned into museums now because this was to do with the slave trade, so people find that interesting to visit there. You've got the caves, Cockpit Country Caves. You can go and visit those. And you've got the Blue Mountains, which are in the east of the region for hiking and climbing. You've got lots of bird sanctuaries as well, and you've got golf courses, deep sea fishing, all of that type of thing. Right, so that's why people visit. Then you need to know the economic impacts. So in 2010, total number of arrivals was 1.9 million. Population involved in employed in tourism was just over 22%, 22.6%, and contribution to GDP, the amount the country earns overall, was 24%. So that's a lot of money that's been utilised there. Also, when you leave Jamaica, you have to pay a $22 departure tax, and this tax goes to the government so they can spend it on improving schools and hospitals and roads and improving the local standards of life. Tourism in Jamaica is the country's second biggest earner as well. And then you've got the multiplier effect. So you've got local farmers selling produce to the hotels and to the restaurants, so this actually has given them a boost of income. And then you've got other businesses that have opened up, so your diving schools and your scuba diving schools and people that run the tours that take you to Dun waterfalls. So all of this has provided lots and lots of income. Now, you need to know, on the flip side, what are some of the problems. So if we talk about the economic problems, first of all, a lot of the hotels are all-inclusive hotels. So you pay for your hotel accommodation and your food's included and your drinks included and activities are included. So that means that you will stay in your hotel complex and you won't go out to any other local areas like a local restaurant. So they don't get any benefit by tourists being there. Now they've got these all-inclusive hotels, so that's bad for the local people. The second thing is a lot of these hotels are foreign owned. For example, in Montego Bay you've got the Hilton, which is an American owned hotel, and so the profits go to America, they go to the Hilton, and this is called leakage. The next thing that you've got is that a lot of the foreign owned hotels, they put their own managers in. So the local people can do the low-paid work, the bar work or working in the restaurant or the cleaning, but all the management jobs are taken by the foreigners. So, in the Hilton's case, they're taken by Americans. And that's not great for the local people because it means that they don't get trained up with those skills and they don't get the high-paid jobs. So those are the economic problems. Right, what about the environment? Well, with the environment, you've got all the extra air pollution of them flying in because aeroplanes create a lot of air pollution. You've then got all of the additional taxis and minibuses that emits exhaust gases, adds to the noise levels and traffic congestion in the island. You've got coral reef, because I've said that around Montego Bay they do a lot of jet skiing and they do a lot of scuba diving and everything, but the coral reef can be damaged by the jet skis and boat anchors. The next thing that we've got is we've actually had mangrove swamps, which is a very fragile habitat, being cleared to develop tourism, so they can actually build hotels there, and that's led to beach erosion because mangrove swamps are actually a natural form of coastal defence, because the waves hit the mangrove swamps and then it stops it from eroding the coast. So they've had more beach erosion, but also it's the loss of animals' habitats. We've also had the great, now I'm going to spell this for you because it's morass, MORASS, wetland, has been partly drained to reclaim land for more hotels in Negril. So that's a bad thing as well. Where you've got more boats and more jet skis and everything like that, you've got the potential of petrol being leaked into the water, and then that affects the coral reefs and the fish that live around there. So all of these things can be very, very bad for the environment. You've also got the old hotels, which are high-rise buildings, which are an eyesore. so that's not good either. Bad visual impact. Now, what have they done to try and improve this kind of impact on the environment? Well, the first thing that they did was, as we said, we've got the Negril Marine Park Nature Reserve has been established to preserve sea life, so tourists and snorkelers and divers can see it but without damaging it. So they're very, very clear with how many boats can go into the area, what the boats can do, what the boats can't do. Like, for example, you can't take anything from the coral reef. There's heavy fines if you do, so it's all very controlled. The next thing is that tourists actually don't like high-rise buildings because it does spoil the view if you're looking across. So the hotels now are all low-rise to limit their visual impact. So any new hotels that are built are all low-rise. So that's a good thing as well. They've put a water treatment plant at Logwood to limit the pollution from Negril's hotels being, sewage being pumped into the sea. It's actually treated first to stop any damage to the coral reefs. They've landscaped Montego Bay town to make it more attractive to visitors, but also, then this actually improves the quality of the environment if they're putting plants in and trees in, because then you create some habitats for your birds.
Is ecotourism. Now, ecotourism is, of course, footsteps in Gambia. Ecotourism, first of all, is how tourism can protect the environment but benefit the local community. So you've got Footsteps in Gambia. This is where they are making sure that they are not impacting the environment, that they're helping the local community, and so their work is very sustainable. So if we start off with the environment stuff, they have 9 huts and they're all at ground level, so it means that you've got no eyesores, you've got no really, really high hotels. With Footsteps in Gambia, they use solar panels and wind turbines to generate their electricity. For example, the solar panels run the freezers. They recycle everything they possibly can. Because they're using renewable energy of solar power and wind power, they are not releasing greenhouse gases. The water is filtered through reed beds to use in the swimming pool. Any water that's wastewater from the showers or from people's wee from the toilet, it's known as grey water. This is also filtered, and they use this water to water crops to grow their food. All of the poo is composted, so they've got composting toilets, and then it's composted so it removes the toxic elements of it, and then this is used to grow their food on Footsteps, and Footsteps tries to be sustainable in growing its own food, so they're not actually transporting food from elsewhere, so that's good as well. The shower water is heated by the sun, and it will give you a 5-minute shower, and then the water will be then stone cold after that, so it stops people wasting water. Okay, now think about social things. There's no seasonal unemployment. They actually employ their 22 workers all year round, and they give them free medical care and free dental care, which is excellent. They all get training in hotel management, so it means that those are the employees that take up this training opportunity, because they don't want to. They can then apply for management jobs in Footsteps, or they could maybe get a job in the tourism industry elsewhere. They keep local traditions alive, because the shop which is on Footsteps sells the local woven stuff, and it sells tie-dye clothes and batik, and this is all sold in the Footsteps shop. Now, economic benefits. The 22 employees are paid all year. They don't have to pay for medical or dental, which is great. And very importantly, 20% of the profits from Footsteps goes into community projects. So supplying clean water, going into schools, vaccinations for children. So this is an excellent business, but this business is actually trying to be sustainable in the way that it runs things.
in Gambia is where they compost their poo. Reed-based filter bad stuff out so they can grow their food, yeah. 22 local employees get free medical and dental, and dental, and dental.